the south side of the island today to visit our barrier reef. Now it's really neat that we can come out here to the northwest side of the island to the Gulf and consider just how far out into the Gulf of Mexico that we actually are. Now today we have brought you guys about 7 miles from Key West. But you have to remember that Key West is just a teeny tiny little island, and it sits about 110 miles from the mainland of Florida. So in all reality right now, you can say that we are over 100 miles out into the world's 5th largest body of water. So for us to have conditions like we have out here today, water is clear and as shallow as this first of all, but seasons absolutely gorgeous. It's really quite a treat. And it makes a great day to come out here and do a healing. Now one of the things you're probably noticing about the water out here, besides how shallow it is the color. It is very green here in the Gulf of Mexico. That has nothing to do with pollution or even the tint of the glass. In fact, this glass that we're looking through is standard inch-and-a-quarter plexiglass. It has no tint or magnification qualities to it. The water here in the Gulf is very nutrient rich. So basically there are a bunch of single-cell algae floating around down there, the light's reflecting back off that and shining back this green color. And we call it green, clean and green down here in the Florida Keys. The fact that the Gulf of Mexico is so nutrient rich means we're going to see a lot of things we normally don't see on the barrier reef. Now on the south side of the island where the barrier reef is, we normally have that clear blue water. And that's because it doesn't have all the nutrients in it. And it does create a different ecosystem. Probably noticed what looked like grass growing on the bottom of the seafloor. We do have a lot of seagrass beds out here in the Gulf of Mexico, and they are extremely important to our environment. Now seagrass acts like a filter. It helps to filter the water out here. It takes out toxins and pollution and even silt and sediment that's floating around down here, keeping this water so nice and clean. But it also oxygenates the water and our atmosphere as well. Now the ocean, in fact, the majority of the oxygen that we breathe comes from the ocean, whether it be sea plants or even like phytoplankton. But if we didn't have a healthy ocean, we would not have a healthy atmosphere for us. So it's very important to take care of this marine environment. Also, those seagrass beds, they play an important role in the diet of green sea turtles. Green sea turtles eat exclusively seagrass. So as we're out here, you guys definitely keep your eyes out for sea turtles. We see them all the time. Not always beneath the glass, but we'll see them up on the surface. They do have to breathe in air occasionally. They can hold their breath for 5 hours. But eventually they do have to come to the surface to breathe. We do see them up there a lot. If you see anything like that too, make some noise so that we can point it out for everybody. Another thing we're going to get to see today are sponges. We got a lot of sponges out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Sponges are rather unique creatures. And they're one of the oldest living creatures in the world. They are over 600 million years old. Or they've been in existence for 600 million years. And in all that time, they actually haven't evolved very much. Sponges are very simple creatures, but they are alive. Basically, they don't have any living tissue, they don't have any internal organs, they don't have a nervous system. What they are just a bunch of cells that work independently but create these structures that we're going to see. Now, the sponges get their names for what they look like. So they're very easy to identify. We just basically pass over a vase sponge. Kind of look like a vase down there. But if you see something that looks like a bowl, that's a bowl sponge. We've got basket sponges that look like baskets. Black ball sponges look like black ball down there. We got barrel sponges, which are big enough for a fully grown human to crawl inside of and squat down in. We got all sorts of different types of sponges. There are over 5,000 different sponges. Some of the more common ones we'll see are loggerhead sponges. Now these are kind of round in structure. There's like light sandy colored sides and a dark circular top. Now loggerhead sponges get their name because they're a perfect snack for loggerhead turtles. These sponges make a really good home for other living creatures. They're really small things like shrimp, little tiny fish, larval states of things. But the fact that these sponges make such a great home for little fish or little creatures make them a great snack for those loggerhead sponges, because those loggerhead turtles. Because those turtles can come in, rip open those sponges and get a good meal out of what's inside of them. There's some of those loggerhead sponges though. These sponges have also made a lot of people a lot of money over the years. I've been told about the 1840s, all the sponging industry came out of that dream. And around that time, locals here in Key West realized they were sitting on a gold mine. So they started building their own glass boats. They weren't quite as nice as this one. I mean, they definitely did not have air conditioning. But they'd come out here and scoop up these sponges and take them back to Key West for their lengthy and stinky processing. If you were to take a natural sea sponge out of the water right now and try to take a bath with it, or wash your car with it, it's going to be a very disappointing experience for you. These things are tough. They're almost like sandpaper on the outside. So it's going to hurt and it's going to ruin your paint job. Basically, locals would have to peel that tough outer layer off these sponges, feed them with a stick till they were soft enough to use, and then clean them out really well. The sponges are alive. They've got other living creatures inside of them. They tend to stink really bad when you pull them out of the water. But anyways, the Florida Keys held the majority of the sponging industry until around 1904. Now that's time you get to think of a barracuda just swim through down there. Now in 1904, we pretty much overfished our sponge beds. The water quality down here was really poor. Lost a lot of our income. Luckily, since that time, the artificial sponge has been invented, and we don't have to rely on these natural sea sponges. So since then, our sponge beds have recovered, and if you guys are interested in purchasing a locally harvested sea sponge, right around the corner from our dock is the old Key West Sponge Market. It's over at Mallory Square. They've got hundreds of these sponges you can look here. They're really cool. They also have a lot of history about the area and the industry. Really neat place to check out. Now we're also seeing a lot of corals out there. A lot of, you guys want to see these corals? We're going to see mostly soft corals here in the Gulf of Mexico. Soft corals do really well, and not looking at just one living creature. You're actually looking at hundreds, and in some cases even thousands, of tiny living marine animals known as coral polyps. Now these little critters live on big colonies or communities to form these structures that we're seeing. It's like a big coral polyp apartment building. Now from the boat, you're not going to be able to see just one coral polyp. They're pretty small. These range in size from about a match head, maybe as big as like a pinky fingernail. But if you were to get really close to it, it looks like an upside down jellyfish. These things are barrel shaped, they're clear and gelatinous, just like jellyfish are, and they even have tentacles. Now they use their tentacles mainly at nighttime. They'll extend them out of the water, makes them look really fuzzy. They use them to trap and steam in food, really small stuff, things like plankton. Coral polyps have exoskeleton. Simply means instead of wearing their skeletons on the inside like we do, they wear it on the outside, like some books. It's like a shell. Other than that, though, they don't have a lot of protection. Basically, they're just covered in a very thin slime layer. It's a mucous membrane, and that's the only thing that keeps out diseases and bacteria. So coral polyps are very small, definitely very fragile as well. You definitely don't want to come out here and start touching coral. You're going to break down that protective layer, and you're going to infect it with all the bacteria out here, and that coral's going to die. Now the corals we're going to see, they mostly get their names for what they look like. Soft corals, we see a lot of sea plumers. They look like big brown feathers. We've got sea fingers, like bunch of fingers. We have just passed over the older star coral. It's that little green, that little rock sitting down there. That was a hard coral. These soft corals that look really long and skinny, those are sea lips. We also have brain coral out here, which looks like a brain. So there's a round structure has all these grooves and indentations that our brains have. Now, we also have a type of sponge and a type of coral that do not get their names for what they look like. They actually get their names for what they would do to you if you happen to touch either one of those. That is the fire sponge and the fire coral. You guys got a jellyfish as well. You don't want to touch that guy either. That was a moon jellyfish. Bending around like a full moon. It has stinging tentacles all around it. They're actually not too bad of a sting, but they do sting. Now that fire coral and the fire sponge, as I was saying, if you were to touch one of those, just like that jellyfish, they're going to sting you too. And it's a pretty bad sting. And it's different for most people. Some people it doesn't last very long, maybe a couple of hours. It could last a couple of days. If you have really sensitive skin though, it could last a couple of weeks. There's really nothing you can do about it. You don't have any creams or lotions that'll make the burn go away. You just have to deal with it. Coral dies, it dissolves back into the water. It doesn't leave anything behind. It's not going to add on to this reef, or it's not going to build a reef out here. So all the soft corals we see, they are alive and healthy. Hard corals, they do something a little bit different. They actually capture carbon and minerals out of the water, which in itself is very important to the environment. But they use those minerals and the carbon to build their exoskeletons into calcium carbonate, which is limestone. So when the living tissue inside of a hard coral dies, you're left with a very thin layer of limestone. And you'll have these areas of dead coral for a little while, but either through cloning or spawning, new coral can grow right on top of the old. So that's how these hard corals grow. It's just layer upon layer. From very small to some of them are fairly large, maybe 10 feet or so across. One of the things about the stingrays is that they do like to bury themselves in the sand. So these sandy areas are great to look for. But because they bury themselves, sometimes all you see is their outline or their little eyeballs poking up, or even just their tails sticking out. Now the fact that stingrays bury themselves in the sand makes people nervous, especially when they're at the beach, because the chances of a sleeping stingray being at the beach are fairly good. They do like to hang out at the beach, just like we do. But if you're worried about getting stung by them, you don't have to worry too much on charging the nest. And that makes them a little bit grumpy. They get so grumpy, in fact, he will change colors from that yellow and black you guys saw to a dark blue and black. It's called his guard phase. So it's a warning to the other fish out here that he's there guarding his nest, and if that other fish would get too close to it, he'd attack it. Well, if you were to get in the water and you get too close to that little fish, he would attack you too. It's not going to hurt you. They're way too small to take a bite out of us. So they're going to get right in your face here and make themselves look as big as possible, and they're going to start bumping into you, trying to push you away from the nest. Since it is a little fish, he won't be able to do it on his own. He has been known to gather up some of his buddies, and pretty soon you can have a bunch of those little fish just bumping into you. It's pretty funny. So do look at those little crevices, they'll put their head down. Now some of the most common fish we'll see, of course, are some of those more camouflage fish. We have a lot of snappers out here, especially along the sides of this jelly line. You see a gray fish, it's got a darker gray stripe going through its eye. That is a gray snapper, also known as a mangrove snapper. We also have schoolmaster snappers, which are silver in color. They have yellow fins all over their body. A lot of times they'll be in school, sometimes they'll be solo. Snappers are very delicious. You're going to see them on menus around town. Mud snappers are my favorite. You see them in movies, really good. If you ever decide to go fishing for them, though, they are a lot of fun to catch, fairly easy to catch. But they are called snapper for a reason. They have a tendency to snap their mouths shut. They've got sharp teeth and pretty much a locking jaw. So if you do happen to get your finger bit by one, it's kind of a pain to get it off. It does hurt really bad. So do keep that in mind when you go fishing for them. Other fish that not so bright in the coloring story, we've seen a lot of grunts today. And grunts, in general, are kind of grayish. We got some that are yellowish. We do have one type that's bright yellow. It's two black stripes behind its head. That's called snorkeling. But it's a member of the gruntfish family. One thing that all these grunts have in common is when you pull them out of the water, they grunt at you. They do make a grunting sound when you're rubbing their teeth together. I know a lot of people don't like it when their food talks to them, but grunts are pretty tasty. Mostly related to snappers. Grunts and grits has been a popular dish down here amongst locals for generations. Now the tropical fish we're going to look for, again, they like to hide, and I see them poking out here and there. We've got angelfish. angelfish. The most common one I see up on this jelly line is a blue angelfish. It's almost an electric blue color. It's got yellow, almost like trim, yellow markings on it. And it's almost a disc-shaped fish, but has a very long top fin and a very long bottom fin, like almost like streamers coming off of it. They'll be hanging out in these little crevices. We also have gray angelfish, which are, again, disc-shaped. They almost make sort of a triangle, and they'll be gray in color. Funny thing about those angelfish is nobody eats them. They're pretty much poisonous to everything. So they're able to mate for life. We typically see them in pairs, which is one of the few fish that can be sent out. We also have blue tangs out here. Keep your eyes out for a bright blue fish. Has a spade-shaped body. They can be almost as big as an adult's hand in this area. They get bright blue. You might actually know those under another name. You guys are Hilo fans, that is Dory. You know that's over here. I don't have Hilo though. The clownfish is another great beauty. Along the sides of this jelly line, swimming along with the boat, I keep seeing some slightly colored, like aqua-colored fish. So that is a parrotfish. And parrotfish are some of the larger fish we get to see out here. Most large fish like to eat little fish. And even though we have little fish, they have a lot of little places to hide, as I mentioned before. So big fish hanging out the street line to get a meal, we'll get a very good one. Parrotfish are an exception, though we get another one sort of blue. It's because they're not interested in eating other fish. They're what we call grazers. They eat algae, basically. It's a nuisance. Algae grows on tops of corals and rocks, so they can actually kill corals and it grows over them. So these parrotfish are important. But the reason they're called parrotfish is they have a very strong beak-like mouth. They use that beak to scrape algae off of corals and rocks. Well, while they're doing that, they also scrape out some of the coral and rock itself. It gets ground up in their little bodies, goes through their digestive system, and it pops out the other end as sand. So that's something to think about next time you're at the beach. They're all that pretty white sand here. Parrotfish are also very brightly colored. Keep your eyes out for stoplight parrotfish. They have a bright red belly.
But I just wanted to thank you for another fantastic presentation.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Now, I didn't take many questions in the time because I didn't want to. So if you guys have questions about anything at all, if you saw something down there that I didn't identify, you'd like me to try, I got pictures of everything back there. Don't hesitate to ask. Not only myself, Mike's sister, extremely knowledgeable.